Welcome back into HQ, presented by Capital One. So, yes, the NFL draft, it's a ways away. However, we're starting to get a little bit better idea as the season rolls along who could potentially have the #1 overall pick. We have decided to go with Sportsline's model right now. So as of right now, according to all the little computer stuff they have going on at Sportsline, the Giants actually come in with the best chance to have the #1 overall pick, coming in at 37%, followed by the Raiders, the Patriots. Cowboys fans, I know you're looking at this because you are on here. Technically, it's less than a 1% chance to have the #1 overall pick, but we're just going to have to see how the season rolls along. Our Ryan Wilson has decided to put together his latest mock draft based on those percentages of the teams with the best chance to have the #1 overall pick. Take a look at this. #1 overall going with Cam Ward out of Miami, the quarterback there. Not going with Shedeur Sanders, going #2 overall to the Raiders, or even Travis Hunter, #3 to the Patriots. The Patriots probably pretty happy about that, though. So let's bring in Ryan Wilson. Let's go over some of these. We got some questions for you, some things we agree with. Ryan, you got to see Cam Ward in person this season. You've had Shedeur Sanders, I mean, just like a nudge above him. So why do you have the Giants taking Cam Ward?
Amanda, it's like you're reading my mind. I've talked to you so often about these quarterbacks. You know exactly what I'm going to say. And by the way, if you want to impress your friends this weekend when you're out and about on the town, tell them there are exactly 132 days until the NFL draft. You said you weren't sure. That's why I'm here. As for Cam Ward, right, I saw him a few weeks ago against Syracuse in a game that Miami needed to win, but they were outdone by Kyle McCord. But the things I love about Cam Ward on tape, I loved in person. He has gotten better each and every year, and this is his 5th year, transfer from Washington State. He's incredibly calm in the pocket. He has a big arm. If he needs to create outside the pocket, he can do that consistently, and he makes consistently good decisions. Now, you can find some plays where he's trying to do too much, and Rick and I like to call it on with the first pick, a little too much hero ball, and Shedeur's guilty of that as well. But he's asked to do a lot in this offense, and he has done it at a high level, and I think that's what translates the athleticism, the arm strength, throws like this against Syracuse, and those are things that you can get excited about at the next level. This is week 1 against Florida. Some of the throws he made in the back of the end zone. And he got better, Amanda, over the last month of the season in terms of playing inside the pocket, which translates a lot better than just being out there winging it and running around and making big plays in college, because that doesn't always happen when you get to the next level.
Okay, so I'm curious, is there some place, a team right now, that could find separation between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, and whether they want to take Cam Ward over him, or as we get closer and go through the draft process, could he find a little separation there, and what would it be?
Yeah, that's going to be fun. This quarterback class is not last year's quarterback class. It's a 2-horse race, and if these 2 horses had been in last year's horse race, they probably would have been QB5 or QB6. Last year, Caleb was the front runner from pretty much the summertime until the actual draft. Jaden Daniels made a little noise. Drake made a little noise. But these guys, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, are neck and neck, and the difference is probably going to come down to athleticism. I think Cam's a little taller. We'll find out as we get through the pre-draft process. Cam has a little better arm on tape, and then, as Rick Spielman likes to say, we'll find out in these interviews as well, because that goes a long way in determining the type of person that you're going to have coming into your organization, that you're investing hundreds of millions of dollars in potentially. For me right now, it's been neck and neck. I had Shedeur slightly ahead of Cam early in the season. Cam surpassed him a little bit, but if you told me half the teams like Shedeur more than Cam and the other half are on Cam, I could completely understand that. So I think the long answer, Amanda, is going to come down to the team needs and how that player fits what they have around them already. If the offensive line isn't great, you could go with either player. One's more athletic than the other, and Cam slightly, but we've seen Shedeur do a lot with a little behind some suspect offensive lines in Colorado the last few years. So I'm hedging, basically, and I need you to give me not 132 days, maybe 100 days, and I'll have a more definitive answer once we get through this pre-draft process.
I was about to say, you do have 132 days to not hedge. But as you mentioned, it's going to be fun to see how that rolls along. When it comes to the Patriots right now, the 3rd best chance to get the #1 overall pick. Right now, sliding into 3rd place, though, according to this draft, you have them taking Travis Hunter. And look, I mean, you got Drake May now. If I'm a Patriots fan, I am thrilled with this pick.
Absolutely. And look, their big need, and it's not even close, is offensive line, especially offensive tackle. The last two drafts, they've targeted interior offensive linemen, which is great, but you need tackles to protect your quarterback. And Drake May's taken a beating, and Jacoby Brissett before him did as well. But if Travis Hunter, the best player in this draft class, and it may not be close, is staring you in the face, you don't have to overthink it. You put him opposite Christian Gonzalez at cornerback, and he is one of the best, if not the best, cornerback in college football right now, especially with Will Johnson out of Michigan being injured the last part of the season. And then offensively, he does things like this every single time he takes the field, and not once a game or twice a game. It's 8 or 9 or 10 times a game he's doing this while playing upwards of 120 snaps because he plays both ways. So it is hard not to think that you would take him here no matter what your other needs might be if you're the Patriots or some other team. The only issue, man, is that he's probably cornerback right now in the NFL, and then you have to find a package of plays for him offensively to jumpstart offenses because he can do that. You just can't play him 100 plays a game because it just won't last. His body won't hold up, and the NFL is certainly a little different than what he's seen in college. But truly special, and if he went higher than 3, I can certainly understand that too.
It will be curious because he said, look, he wants to be Shohei Ohtani. He wants to play both sides of the ball. Don't think that's necessarily as sustainable in football as it may be in baseball. Let's go to the Titans here. It doesn't look like they're going to get the #1 overall pick. Sorry, Titans fans. Know you'd like to have that there. However, still high in the draft process. Last week, I looked at your mock draft. You had them taking the #1 overall tackle, your #1 overall tackle, I should say, and Kelvin Banks out of Tennessee. You're going in a different direction with a wide receiver. Why is that?
The offensive tackles are gone. There's one still on the board there, but Kelvin Banks, who I like out of Texas, is already off the board, the offensive tackle there. And look, they've drafted 2 offensive linemen the last 2 years in round 1. J.C. Latham this year, who plays left tackle, and he's holding up pretty well out of Alabama. The year before, they took Peter Skoronski, who was a Northwestern left tackle. They moved him to left guard. To the left side is pretty solidified. They have some issues on the right side. But if the guy that you love isn't there along the offensive line, let's get a wide receiver for Will Levis. I think Will Levis feels like he's still going to be the guy. And even if he's not, Amanda, if the top 2 quarterbacks are already off the board, you're not going to reach for someone inside the top 10 potentially with this pick. So Tedero McMillan, who's 6'5" and 200-plus pounds, and I had a scout explain to me over the summer, and if you watch him, it's clear as day. If you like Drake London, this is a better version of Drake London, and that's pretty crazy to wrap your brain around, the former Falcons first-round pick. He takes over games. He started early in the season doing that. The Arizona Wildcats have struggled in terms of wins and losses, but it ain't been because of Tedero McMillan. Him and Noah Fafita played together in high school. Their quarterback, who's slightly undersized, and we'll have some conversations about him during the draft process. But you see here, a long strider, big catch radius. He can run through arm tackles, and more athletic version of Drake London. That feels like something that Will Levis could certainly use in what's been a pretty hard to watch at times Titans offense.
Ryan, I need you to talk to the Cowboys fans. I have listened to podcasts. I have looked at all of their tweets, if you will, their Instagram posts, their TikToks. By the way, are you still getting called out on TikTok by 12-year-olds?
I have to ask my 17-year-old. I've been off TikTok for a little bit because the outrage from the 14-year-olds was a little too much for me to handle.
They did come after you. We'll see if they do in about 100 days from now. However, the Cowboys, whatever Lord you pray to, whatever thing out in the universe, they need a running back. Ashton Jeanty right now is still on your board. When the Cowboys came into this, you were skipping over Ashton Jeanty, going with edge Jalen Walker. Why are we skipping on Ashton Jeanty here?
And that could be one of those questions that comes back to bite you if you're the Cowboys, for sure. They need help at running back, and Jerry Jones was sort of drug his feet about addressing the running back position. And Ashton Jeanty feels like a layup. Like I'm talking about him in the same breath I'm talking about Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, the 2 running backs who were drafted in the first round 2 years ago. One went 8, one went 12, and that feels about the range for Ashton Jeanty. But you talked about Jalen Walker, who I had going here, in part because it's a huge need. Jalen Walker plays off-ball linebacker for Georgia, but they also line him up outside at edge rusher, so he can get after from anywhere on the field, and that feels a little bit like what they have in Micah Parsons. And the other reason is one that's not a lot of fun to talk about. DeMarvion Overshown had another serious knee injury, and he could be out until 2025, according to Mike McCarthy, and that stinks because he was playing with his hair on fire, as my buddy Rick Spielman likes to say, after suffering an ACL injury after his rookie season, or just prior to his rookie season. So he's been bitten by the injury bug, and that's certainly unfortunate because he was special in the middle of that defense. Jalen Walker feels that need, and he also feels a need opposite Micah Parsons if you want to play him at edge rusher. But again, Ashton Jeanty's special. We know that Dak Prescott's going to come back healthy. CeeDee Lamb needs some help in terms of skill positions, and Ashton Jeanty certainly checks that box. But Jalen Walker feels like a bigger need, if you can say that, because that defense has been so up and down under Mike Zimmer this year.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you remember how tall Bijan Robinson is?
He's 5'11", I believe.
Okay. Do you think at all Ashton Jeanty's height is going to be an issue? Because I'm 5'4", I got on heels, I've interviewed him, and with a helmet on, he is maybe an inch or so taller than me.
It's funny, Amanda, you mentioned that to me earlier, and I said, oh, that is curious. So I brought it up to former GM, Rick Spielman, and he said, look, I love Ashton Jeanty. I don't want to talk about how tall he is right now, but if he's 6'6", we're going to have a conversation. So we'll see. Look, man, he's special. All you have to do is watch him play. If you're not asking him to run routes like he's Tedero McMillan, who's 6'4", 6'5", I get it. But again, I guess you can be too small to be a top 12 pick. We'll find out. But as you know, because you've seen him in person, there are very few people who move like Ashton Jeanty on a football field. So the Cowboys might want to be careful if they choose to pass on him, because he's not 5'8.5" as opposed to 5'6.5".
Oh, we'll find out, but I've never seen somebody run so fast in my entire life as Ashton Jeanty. It was like out of a cartoon, and he was gone, and then there was dust behind him. Ryan Wilson, we appreciate it. Is Rick Spielman, let's talk about your podcast with the first pick. Is he behaving right now? What have you guys got coming up?
No, he's not behaving, but we just did a mock draft on the show with Josh Edwards, so check that out, because you can never have enough mock drafts in your life, Amanda.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right, there may be some big players opting out of bowl games, but no big players are opting out of the college football playoff. When we come back, Shahan Raja has compiled the list of his top 25 players in the playoff. We'll break that down with him and Chip Patterson.